Welcome to Digication Scholars Conversations. I'm your host, Kelly Driscoll. In this episode, you'll hear part 2 of my conversation with Vail Schultz McColl, Technical Instructor of Early Childhood Education at Colorado Mesa University and Buell Fellow at Denver University. More links and information about today's conversation can be found on Digication's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Full episodes of Digication Scholars Conversations can be found on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. As you were speaking, kind of thinking about this kind of connection to the community and building advocacy for supporting early childhood education and improving early childhood education, making people more aware of its importance. And I have 5 children, and was just thinking about how, for me, the connection to their early teachers really served on many days as a bit of a lifeline, right? So I have 3 older children that my oldest is she just turned 17, and then I have twin boys that are 15. So they were kind of like their own little pod, growing up, being so close in age, and there being 3 of them, that kind of effort involved in just getting everybody finding their shoes and out the door in the morning. And very often it's their preschool teacher, kindergarten teacher, these people in the beginning that are maybe the first person that you see in the day asking how you are as a mother, and having a moment to just kind of smile at each other, check in and how the children are doing. So often they would have some kind of funny story to tell about something that was happening in the classroom. And we would just have these wonderful exchanges there as the kids were coming in and getting ready for their day. And you have that kind of peek into their world and how they're interacting with other students in the classroom. And I found my husband and I adopted 2 more children in 2020 that were just over 2 and 1 years old. So again, they're very close in age. And I was reminded again through this experience how important those connections are with those early childhood educators in, if you're having any kind of behavioral challenges at home or need some advice on, what books they seem to be really responding to or what have you, that it's those individuals that have really served as a wonderful source of support and friendship. I'm in touch with many of their teachers still. My oldest is still very good friends with her early childhood education teacher that she started seeing when she was just 8 months old.
Wow.
And so we've just had this wonderful connection. And I know for many new parents, having that, those people in your lives is just huge. So I was very curious because I don't know all of the details of early childhood education curriculum. Um, if there is a component of that really talks about creating that kind of relationship with the parents, being that kind of person of comfort or support or advice. And I was interested in any insights you have on, how that's modeled or how students kind of come into that, or if it's something that these individuals, because they have a passion for young children, are kind of bringing that to the table already. I would love to hear.
So, again, congratulations, 5 in the family. That keeps you
It's
busy. I have
busy.
2, and they kept me busy enough when they were going through school. But
Yeah.
I would say thinking about that connection to other human beings, whether it's an adult or whether it's a
Mhm.
child. That's really something that we strategically work through and talk about all through the courses. And I don't know if you can see it on some of the public e-portfolios, but that's part of their philosophy is they start out and they're really talking about the relationships and understanding that those relationships come first, because if
Mhm.
we don't have that relationship, learning just doesn't happen, or if it does happen, it's very slow, and
Mhm.
monotonous. It can really be a struggle. And so really thinking about how are we creating those relationships. So the other faculty and I, as well as our apprenticeship specialists, we really model for our students that we want those relationships, because if we don't model it, they're not going to see it and they're not going to
Mhm.
translate that into the classroom. And that's so key in these first 8 years to have those relationships. In fact, as you were talking, it reminded me that we have a 3 credit class, and all that class talks about is working with families and the community. And
Yeah,
that's because it's
that makes a lot
so
of
important
yeah.
that we learn to accept people where they're at, and the diversity, the beautiful diversity that comes in different areas from rural to metro to urban, as well as the family's views and ethnicity. And within early childhood, we really try to bring that in, because we know that we're creating lasting relationships, just like what you talked about. I still have friendships with some of the families from 20 years ago when I
Yeah.
started having a family home care.
Yeah.
And now these children that I observed and I cared for now have children of their own.
Yeah.
And I would say, the portfolio also lends that level of professionalism,
Mhm.
because when others see you as a professional, you see yourself as a professional, and then those relationships can happen because you're showing mutual respect to each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so definitely, it's wonderful to hear that you had such great relationships with your early childhood professionals.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I feel very lucky. And I still have these just wonderful, they're kind of like these little snapshots or little vignettes in my mind of my own memories from being in daycare and preschool. Like I'll never forget Mrs. Shields. Like she's just embedded in my person, and I have these little glimpses of the water play, and where that was, and it all seems so big, and I've gone back and visited the daycare where I've got these memories, and it's so tiny, but in my little vignette, it's this huge open backyard and this big water table with all of the toys, and it's this tiny little thing, and it just gives us these wonderful um, kind of reflective moments on our own childhood whenever we have these experiences with other little ones. And I had a chance to read some of the reflections, and one of them said something that kind of pulled at my heart a little bit, because it was talking about how it is something for all of us. Early childhood is this shared experience. So when they're going through this program and reflecting on the various course objectives and things, there's no way they won't have some kind of personal connection to it, because they've been through that, and that's very different from some other learning outcomes that one finds in other programs. It may not be something that they experience until much later on in their college career or out in the working field. So I think that that's a really interesting kind of everyone's got some kind of common ground
Yeah.
to pull from as they're going through these. And I was curious if there was a particular area within their um, e-portfolios that you always find maybe most joyful or interesting to read as they're kind of going through the program? Or is it something that really depends on the individual?
I would say there's several in different classes. Um,
Mhm.
But the classes that we really see people reflecting more is one, the guidance class where we talk about how were you raised, what are some of
Mm,
the disciplines, the guidance that your parents had. The other one would be the working with parents, family, and community, because we really talk about parents coming into the classroom. So we have this huge I would say disparity, but a difference between some students who had families that were very involved and some who their parents weren't able to come into the classroom.
right,
And
right.
I would say probably the one I enjoy most is the human relations class, which I love to teach. And because we really start delving deeper into what is creating a relationship and
Yeah.
how did you see that as a young child? How did it feel like when you went to teacher parent conferences? Um, how did you interact with other people in the community? How did your ethnicity impact you? And so within that class, we normally see people really starting to delve in and think about, okay, how did my experiences as a young child from birth all the way up to second grade, how did that really influence how I am today, what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy? I have in the curriculum class, I always talk about math, and I always have them reflect on that as well. And so it's interesting for me to see how some people remember math as this horrible experience when they were, in first and second grade, and that really carried through. And so within that curriculum class, I always have them do fun things with math. And then, they kind of come to this awareness of like, wow, math can be fun. And I'm like, that's right, it can be fun. Now go
It
stick it
can
into
be.
your e-portfolio. Or go, buy some blocks and go play with it. But
Yeah.
really trying to help them to remember that when they were young, it was fun. And so where did that shift happen where it shifted from being fun to being terrifying or uncomfortable and not wanting to do it anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, do we all have universal stories to tell about math class? I wonder. I'm really curious about that.
Well, see,
I
that's
definitely have some.
that would be a topic for conversation because you can bring it up at your next dinner party, right? What
Right?
do you think about your math?
Yeah.
We actually we have a separate topics class now that is just science and math. And the other faculty, Stephanie, teaches it and does a great job with starting out with that reflection on science and math and what did you like and what didn't you like. And she said you'd be amazed at the different perceptions that really started early on,
Yeah.
in those early years and how they really got set in our brains. And
Yeah.
then now we're trying to unlearn what we think we learned so that we can enjoy
Yeah.
it again and enjoy science and math. I'm kind of a math nerd and I'm kind of a science nerd. I enjoy them both. Um, but then I had really positive experiences when I was young, and I still remember them in kindergarten, first and second grade, of going and exploring butterflies and watching them turn into caterpillars, or caterpillars into butterflies. I was backwards,
Mhm.
and ladybugs, and having a garden and watching things grow, and really those positive experiences. And for math, it was cooking. My grandmother always had me cooking, and so it was fun, but then again, how early childhood really impacts us
Yeah.
much later in
Yeah.
life that we don't even realize.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. So I was curious, being in Colorado, are there specific things that you are finding are um, challenges that you have some awareness that your teachers, I know not all of them are going to be staying in the area, but I imagine some of them do. Are there some things about being in Colorado or Grand Junction specifically that you hope that you can kind of encourage or motivate your students to work to address? I often talk to educators because they have this connection to the community. um, are hoping that they're going to, light some fire under the kind of next generation of students that's going out into that community to work to improve. Do you have some of those um, kind of attachments or challenges, or maybe things that you're just hoping that they continue to build upon within the area?
Wow, that was a huge question. I have so many answers.
Well,
Um,
we have time, so
well, I would have to say, it's really exciting, here in Colorado. We have a governor that's really supportive of early childhood education, and so has really put that on the forefront and has put what I would call teeth behind it, meaning I'm
Mhm.
not just telling you to do something, I'm actually gonna put money towards it and effort,
Nice. Yes,
and
that's
so
always helpful.
we have universal preschool that is
Mhm.
starting, this month,
Ah,
that they've rolled out, and it's only, all 4-year it's for 4-year-olds, and it's 15 hours a week, that the state is helping with assistance for that, and, it's
mm,
again, it's that starting level, and so we're super excited about that, and looking forward to how that's gonna roll out and the impacts both for teachers and families and young children.
yeah.
The other one was the apprenticeship, which I talked about a little bit earlier. We're seeing great strides regarding people seeing themselves as professionals and drawing in others who may not have joined had we not had the apprenticeship program or who are going on for further education. So
Mhm.
that's super exciting. So we're hoping that that will continue on. I would say in the state of Colorado, because we have such diversity from rural to mountain to
Yeah.
urban to metro, that there's a huge variety from where our students come from in our area here in Grand Junction, and they go rural or urban or metro, sometimes even
Mhm.
into the mountain towns, which, that can be challenging because you could live in a mountain town where there is not a childcare facility, there's
Right.
only family childcare homes. And
Yeah.
so helping them to navigate those and to figure out where is your niche. I found for myself as I was going through my experiences that I love teaching preschool. I love teaching kindergarten. I love teaching first grade. Second grade, not so much. Infant toddlers, I love to go and visit the classrooms and help out, but that was not my niche. And I think
Yeah.
it's really important that we help teachers to recognize where are their strengths and let's play to those strengths, right? That this is super important. And personally, one of my passions is children in nature. And
Mhm.
I just went to the Children in Nature, Network, conference that was here in Estes Park, and it was amazing, and I got to meet Richard Louv, who wrote Last Child in the Woods, and really the impact that we're seeing regarding when children don't have aren't in touch with nature. We're
Yeah.
very blessed here in Colorado because we have the mountains and we tend to be an outdoor state,
So
but
much to explore.
even though we do, we still have metro areas where families may not have any green spaces, right? There could be a tree and that's pretty much it, or maybe a little bit of grass. But that's something that I work into my classes is really thinking about how are we helping children and families to get in touch with nature? How are we encouraging them to understand the cycle of growth, fruition, like for an apple tree, and then
Mm.
that time for sleeping that that tree needs in order to produce again that next year. Um, because in my view, if children don't understand that cycle of nature and don't feel connected to it, then they have less respect for it. And then we have a negative impact on the environment.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so that's something that I really try to work in with my classes is how are you bringing in nature, which links directly to science and math,
Yeah.
and then how are you showing value for that? And how are
Mhm.
you understanding not only the value of nature, but how it impacts your own health and wellness? Are
Mhm.
you getting out in nature? Are you going for a walk? Are you doing what they call tree bathing, or forest bathing
Oh,
where
I
you're
love
getting
yes,
out?
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I love the idea. It's one of the Asian countries, I can't remember if it's Japan or somewhere in China, that you can actually get a prescription now from your doctor, that if
To go
your mental
spend
health
time. Oh, wow.
yeah, if your
Yeah.
mental health is not good or your physical health is not good, they will actually write you prescriptions, and your employer has to honor that. So if it says you have to take an hour out in nature during the day, well, they have to give you that hour during your lunch break so you have time to go to a green space and
Mm.
walk or exercise or just be close with nature. And I really value that because I think as we continue to move forward, as much as I love technology, for me, it's that balance of if I'm going to be on the computer and working with things, yes, it makes my life easier. It makes it better. I love, having access to online classrooms. The e-portfolio is great, but I need to take the equivalent of that time and go out into the garden, go take my
Yeah,
dog for a walk, just appreciate the
right.
fact that I have praying mantis crawling on my window or
Right, yeah,
ladybugs or butterflies flitting around. And
yeah.
then just really valuing that is one of my soapboxes, I guess you would say.
It's a very important soapbox. I'm so glad that it is,
Thank you.
and thank you for sharing that too, and you were kinda speaking to this, balance, and it was reminding me of some other parts of your, biography where you were kind of talking about, some of the other balances that you have in your life, appreciating quiet space as much as you appreciate all of the kind of active activity and noises of the classroom.
Yep.
And I think it's a valuable perspective for you to be able to bring in as you're speaking to your kind of current cohorts of future teachers, and also giving them the opportunity to model that for their own students as well. We can't always exist in the extremes of either end. We need to have that kind of balance to be happy, happy human beings.
Yep, and
So
that's what we want. I want my if my teachers are happy, then that lends to the children and the families being happy, and that just makes everybody's life a whole lot easier.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, there was one other area within the e-portfolios that I wanted to touch on. Again, I mentioned I have 5 children, and some of them have special needs. And very often, it's in the early childhood years that some of those special needs start to become more apparent. And I was curious what kind of preparation the students receive in your program to kind of handle, maybe becoming aware of the possibilities that some special needs may arise, and how they get educated and how to maybe communicate some of those things to parents, because I know that that was really important in our experience as parents too, and would love to hear your insights and how that is kind of integrated into your program too, because I can see it in their portfolio.
Well, I'm glad you can see it in there. So we build into each of the classes we have a little bit of discussion about it because we know it's important again, that scaffolding of learning,
Mhm.
as well as allowing them to delve into things that they're more interested in. We do talk about it. We do have a 3 credit class at the 2-year level that's called exceptionalities, where we
Mhm.
delve much, much deeper into the variety of developmental differences. And sometimes that recognition of it may be but delayed, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just takes
Right.
a little bit longer. Or somebody may need some additional assistance, right,
Mhm.
for a couple years. And the idea that these students are exceptional, right? It doesn't matter. They're still human beings. We still love them. They're still a valued part of the community. So, where can we find their strengths? So, it's really a strengths based class, even though we
Mhm.
talk about where delays might happen, where they need additional assistance. We're still looking at um, where are their strengths. Identifying those students who may be what we call twice exceptional. So they may have a
Mhm.
delay in one area, but they may really excel in another. I always share with my students a little girl that I worked with for a couple years who was what we would call twice exceptional. And by the time she was in kindergarten, she could write an essay at a high school level, but
Yeah.
she struggled with understanding boundaries, like
Mhm.
being able to understand hello and goodbye and shaking
Right.
hands, or even the boundary of this is my plate of food, you may not pick off
Right.
of it. Um,
Yes,
right,
yes.
and really understanding it. So that class really focuses on it. We talk about it more in working with parents, family, and community, as well as with student teaching. I always encourage them to go into a classroom which may have more integration than others. And one of the exciting things that happened, and I was glad you brought this up, was that when I first started at CMU, one of the things that we really wanted to do was have a bachelor's with a teacher licensure in early childhood. And
Mhm.
so, as we continue to work and strive towards that, I was connected with Dr. Gillies, who came to work at teacher licensure and who had a great passion for early childhood special education, honoring that diversity. And so, several years ago, after many years of work, we were able to get a bachelor's in early childhood with an endorsement in special education with a
Nice.
teacher licensure for kindergarten through second grade. And so that was a huge win for us. And then this year we've modified it a little bit because we found out we have people that are taking our classes that don't want to teach in a kindergarten first and second grade level,
Mhm.
that they want to work in social work, or they want
Right, that
to
makes sense.
be at the courthouse as an advocate. So now we have another one that's a bachelor's in early childhood education with the special education endorsement, but it just doesn't have a teacher licensure. And that
Yeah,
really is to value those people who understand the importance of early childhood, who want to have that deeper understanding of children with diverse needs,
yeah.
but just don't want to teach in the school district.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, it's wonderful to hear that that is in place and that there is that interest from other areas too. I know with our kind of foster to adoption process, without the support of the social worker and some of the early childhood educators, as new parents, we may not have known about early intervention kinds of supports that were available within our state. So this level of knowledge and connections to different people in the community is just huge for parents. And one of our boys needed speech intervention, and you would never know it now going into first grade, but it just made such a difference.
Right,
So
and if you have teachers who understand this right off the bat, then you
yeah,
get that great intervention, and
exactly.
then as they continue on through school, they're right up there with their peers and growing and learning without feeling like, "Oh, I can't do this," or "This is too hard," or "I don't know what's wrong with me," type.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you, Vale, so much for your time today. It was really wonderful to have this opportunity for some one on one time with you to learn more about you and your program and your use of e portfolios, of course. And it's wonderful to hear how this is benefiting your students as they're getting prepared to go into their own classrooms. And I hope it will continue to be a big benefit for your program as well as you're working with your students to get them prepared. And I hope we can stay in touch. It's really exciting to see how it's evolved from the beginning days, as our platform continues to evolve to address the needs of the different kinds of schools and programs that we work with. It's always a joy to see how the actual resulting e-portfolios are evolving too, and the way that teachers like you are using them. So thank you so much for joining me today, Vale.
Well, thank you. I fully enjoyed our chat, and of course,
Good.
anytime I get to stand on my soapbox for nature and children, I'm there, and it's been lovely chatting with you. So thank you so much for having me.
Very well. Thank you. Talk to
Mhm.
you soon.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Bye. This concludes our conversation. To hear our next episode, be sure to subscribe to Digication Scholars Conversations on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. The Digication Scholars Conversation series is brought to you by Digication, a technology platform powering the most innovative ePortfolio programs in K-12 and higher education. Our website can be found at digication.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for tuning in.